Okay, so I'm sure a number of you have vaped in school before, and I'm sure a lot of you have also gotten high before. So at some point, I'm sure the thought has crossed your mind, hey, what if I get high and go to school? And I'm telling you right now, don't do it. Like, I know it sounds fun, but trust me, it is not. Now, interestingly enough, I actually never went to class high in high school, but most of my friends did, and I want to talk about that because it's pretty funny. So one day at lunch, we were hanging out in our cars, and Gabe had a cart he was passing around, and the cart gets passed to Zeke, and he's like, dude, I'm gonna take a blinker. Why? That's gonna get you super fucked up.
Dude, my next class is Spanish. I want to get high and laugh at how stupid the teacher looks.
And to be fair, the Spanish teacher at our high school was an asshole. And I'm not even joking right now, she looked like a Keebler elf. So naturally, we all hear that Zeke wants to go to her class high, and we start cheering him on. So Zeke is very high at this point, and lunch is almost over, so we all walk back to the school and go to our next classes. And my next class was band with Kenneth and Gabe. And things were good for about 30 minutes or so. We were fucking off like we usually did in band. But then the security guard Robbie comes in and is like,
I need Gabe to the front office right now. Grab your things, you won't be coming back.
And Gabe looks at me and Kenneth and whispers, fuck. So Gabe gets taken to the front office, and obviously I wasn't there for this part, but apparently Zeke went to his Spanish class and then immediately greened out and threw up all over the table.
So apparently Zeke got sick from smoking something at lunch break, and he was last seen with you walking back from lunch on the cameras. Do you know anything about this?
No, I just saw Zeke walking back from lunch and thought I'd walk with him.
Okay, well, he says he hit someone's cart, but he won't tell us whose it was. And right now, we suspect that it was you.
Wait. Cart? What's a cart?
It's a type of weed.
Weed?
Cannabis.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess you're free to go then, because it's pretty clear that it wasn't you. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Gabe just pretended that he didn't know what a cart was and completely got off free. Like, what a fucking legend. But in all seriousness, Zeke ended up being okay. He didn't get in too much trouble because I guess greening out in the Keebler Elves class was punishment enough, and we all got to laugh about how Gabe got out of that situation. So the moral of this story, just don't smoke weed in school. It's just not worth it. And if you decide to get high in school anyways and get caught, well, then just pretend you don't know what weed is, because apparently that works pretty well too. Also, just wanted to tack this onto the end here. Special video coming out Monday, so keep an eye out for that. Need more videos to watch? Here's a playlist of all the videos I've ever made on this channel. Smoking with the boys. Now, whether you're a super heavy or a really light smoker, I think we can all agree that smoking with the boys is one of the best ways to enjoy the za. It just takes the whole experience to a new level. In fact, my first time ever smoking was with the boys. We had all the boys over at Gabe's house, and the plan was to smoke and then go to the store to grab some food. So we all packed into his bathroom and smoked, and then a few of us walked to the King Soopers that was right down the street. And for a few minutes things were fine. I remember we picked out some hamburger helper, but we were going to cook it with breakfast sausage instead. And it was at that moment that it started to hit me. My eyes and mouth got all dry, the lights in the store started seeming way too bright to me, and everything in my field of view felt like I was looking down the end of a hallway. Like, it's hard to explain. It wasn't tunnel vision, but it felt like I was just looking down out the end of a really long hallway. So we checked out and went back to Gabe's house and started cooking that hamburger helper with sausage. And let me tell you, that was one of the best meals I think I have ever had. I'm telling you, everything about smoking the za is better when you have friends there. And not to mention all the goofy shit that happens when you're high with your friends. Like a few summers ago, a few of my friends and I were sitting in my car in the McDonald's drive-thru on one of the hottest days of the year. And my AC was just barely keeping up with how hot it was. When all of a sudden it starts getting really hot in my car, like unbearably hot. And the music was playing pretty loud, so I couldn't really hear what was going on in the back seat. Yo, can anyone else feel how fucking hot it is in... But smoking with the boys isn't perfect. I mean, we've all got that one friend who just does not know how to roll. And in my friend group, that person is Hunter. Now, don't get me wrong, we all love Hunter. He's a great guy, but he cannot roll to save his life. There was one time a couple years ago when we were counting on him to bring the goods to the session, and he showed up with quite possibly the worst joints I think I've ever seen. They were about the same width as one of those tubes of ink that goes inside of like a pen, and they were about 6 inches long, and had had more paper in them than actual flour. Yeah, they were not very good. There was also this other dude, Jackson, who Gabe and I smoked with a couple times, and never once did he actually have proper rolling papers. So, what kind of papers are we rolling with today? I got, like, printer paper? Like, man, am I really about to smoke this? And I mean, I still did. It actually ended up being a really fun time. We ended up just getting really high and watching funny YouTube videos. Which actually reminds me, I had the idea to start this YouTube channel while I was smoking with the boys. So yeah, go smoke with the boys. It's worth it. Alright, here we go. Vaping Stories Part 3. Now, if you watched the first two Vaping Stories videos, you'd know that I almost got caught vaping one time in the bathroom, and that's why I stopped doing it at school. But that didn't stop most of my friends from vaping in school, though. And when the school started cracking down on it, people started getting busted left and right. And no one got caught more times than my friend Justin. I mean, there was a point where Justin was getting his ass carted off to the office about once a week. And getting all that lunch detention in ISS, and not to mention your vapes always getting confiscated, really sucks. So he came up with a really weird, but in retrospect also really smart, way of not getting busted. One day after school, he came up to me and he was like, "Yo bro, can you hold my shit for a little bit? I got an idea." "Yeah bro, I got you. What were you thinking of doing?" "I'll explain later, just watch this."
"Hey Robbie, let me hit your jewel."
He straight up gave himself a one-way ticket to the principal's office. But since all of his vapes were with me, they didn't find anything when they searched him. So he didn't get in any trouble. So the next day rolls around and we're hanging out again after school. And Justin again goes up to the security guard Robbie and asks him, "So Robbie, how about a hit of that jewel, huh?" "Oh, that's a good one, Justin. I'm no fool. I don't jewel in school." Bro, he found the fucking cheat code. Robbie thought Justin was joking the entire time. So from that point forward, every time Justin saw Robbie, he'd always ask him to hit his jewel. And every time, Robbie would respond with some shit like, "Oh, I'm cool, cause I don't jewel in school." Meanwhile, Justin would have like 3 Sorens and a cart hanging out in his backpack. But Justin never got searched again after that, because anytime he was suspected of having a vape, he could just play it off like a joke.
Hey Jake, give me that mod!
Like, I know it sounds like a really weird strategy, but it was really smart. But we only had to worry about hiding the vapes when we were at school. Once we got off school property, we didn't have to hide it anymore, and that's where most of the shenanigans took place. Like in the parking lot right across the street from the high school. We'd usually eat lunch and park our cars over there, as well as hotbox the fuck out of Gabe's Subaru.
I can't even see Kenneth.
I can't see your eyes. Damn, this video doesn't do it fucking justice.
But we weren't the only people who ate lunch over there, and one of the other people who ate there was Zach. Now, I've already talked about Zach in another video, and how he was an absolute fucking scumbag, but I never mentioned how we ended up getting our revenge on him. See, one day I was eating lunch in my friend Kenneth's Mustang, and Zach was doing his usual rounds of just being a fucking bottom feeder. But this day was very special because Zach wasn't just looking for a handout, he was looking to buy something. And on that fateful day, Zach was going around asking everyone if they had a jewel they were willing to sell.
Huh, I got a jewel, but it doesn't work.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, I took it apart after I dropped it in the sink, but I broke a wire, so I put everything back together and it's been sitting in that cup holder ever since.
Huh. But Zach doesn't know it's broken.
You're right. I think I'm about to scam the fuck out of this dude.
And that was the day that Kenneth sold Zach a broken jewel for $40. And from that point forward, anytime we needed money, we knew we could just offload all our old shit off of Zach for more than we paid for it. Because Zach was so bad with money, and it was super easy to trick him into thinking something was a good deal.
Hey Zach, I've got this certified pre-owned Novopod for you. Only used once and definitely not burned beyond recognition. And because you're a cool dude, I'll give you a homie discount and let you have it for the low price of $15.
But ripping off Zach was not the only vaping thing we were doing outside of school. We were blowing clouds in band, we were vaping at scout events.
It's colder than balls.
And if you want to hear more of these stories, let me know down in the comments and I'll make a part 4. Need more videos to watch? Here's a playlist of all the videos I've ever made on this channel.
Before this video starts, let me just say real quick, sorry it's been so long since my last video. It has been a wild month. So without further ado, sneaking out of your parents' house. Sneaking out for the first time is a rite of passage that most teenagers will go through, and if you do it right, you could have a ton of fun and not even get caught. So that's why today I'm gonna be talking about my first time ever sneaking out and giving you a few pointers on things you should and shouldn't do. So this story dates back to the summer of 2022. My friend Kenneth's parents were out of town, and you know that meant he was throwing a house party while they were away. And since that was gonna be the best party of the summer, I did not want to miss out. But because I have what are known as strict parents, I knew there was no way they were gonna let me go. So in order to go to the party without getting caught, I had to come up with a scheme. And it went a little something like this. After I got home from work at 3, I'd walk around the house and figure out exactly what my escape route would be for that night. Then I'd go around and grease all the doors and windows that I had to go through. If you're planning to sneak out too, I highly recommend doing this. And then once my parents had gone to bed that night, I would sneak out using my predetermined route and go meet up with the boys at the party. Just a small problem though, transportation, because the party was far enough away that I would need a ride there and a ride back. And there was no way I was gonna take my own car, because the #1 rule of sneaking out is don't take your own car. Because for one, if your car's not there, it's gonna be really easy for your parents to tell that you're not there. But also because if you're a teenager and you drive a shitbox, this might end up happening. Oh yeah, that's right. You chopped the muffler off your car with a hacksaw, upgraded to a performance exhaust, and now your car wakes up half the neighborhood every time you cold start it. Now obviously I'm joking, kinda. But seriously though, don't take your own car, have a friend drive you. And while we're on the topic, make sure that your friend has gas in their car, because one of the times I snuck out, I went on a Taco Bell run with Kenneth and Harrison, and we ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere. But anyways, now you should be at the party, and now it's time to have some fun. Now this part's pretty self-explanatory. Drink some silly juice, smoke some za, hit some absolutely atrocious dance moves that drunk you thinks are good. You know, just have a good time. But don't overdo it, because at some point you are gonna want to sneak back in, and the last thing you want is your parents waking up at 3 in the morning and finding you in the living room blackout drunk doing some crazy shit. So yeah, basically have fun, but don't have so much fun that it comes back to bite you later. Now there's one more thing I haven't mentioned about sneaking out, and that's to not forget about the day after the party. Because the first time I snuck out, I stayed out until 4:45 in the morning. And don't get me wrong, I had a ton of fun, but I forgot that the next day, I had to wake up at 6 a.m. to go drive to Albuquerque. And having to go and do that on 1 hour of sleep was brutal. So yeah, that's how you sneak out of your parents' house. Need more videos to watch? Here's a playlist of all the videos I've ever made on this channel. Working a minimum wage job. Now, I've worked a number of minimum wage jobs. High school bathrooms. If I'm being honest, I can't think of a place more disgusting, unusual, and yet at the same time hilarious than the high school bathrooms. Because when you walk into a high school bathroom, you never know what you're gonna get. You could walk into the bathroom and find a bunch of people having a book club, 2 idiots shoving a paper clip into one of the outlets, or even one of the weird kids taking a piss into the trash can. And honestly, that's part of what makes the school bathrooms so great, because those bathrooms are one of the last lawless places left on Earth, and you can get away with a lot of shit in there, which naturally makes it the perfect place to do stupid shit with your friends. Like, just as one example of what we used to do in the bathrooms, one day we were hanging out after school, and Justin came up to us and was like, dude, there's 2 people fucking in the bathroom. And at first we were like, there's no way. So we went to go investigate, and just like Justin said, there were 2 people doing something they probably shouldn't have been doing in that bathroom.
Hey, what are you guys laughing about?
Harrison, there's some dude laying some pipe in the bathroom.
No shit? Hey, watch this shit. This is gonna be funny.
Get out of there! I gotta take a wicked shit!
Honestly, now that I think about it, a lot of these stories involve Harrison. Like, I guess he really just was the fucking tormentor of the bathrooms. But honestly, that just goes to show anything goes in the school bathrooms. And the worst bathrooms at my school were the locker room bathrooms. Because not only were they the furthest from the rest of the school, but they also had the most shit that you could break. And I might have graduated before the devious lick trend became a thing, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't help fuck up the bathrooms. I've TP'd the bathroom with Kenneth and Julian before. I've carved more rude jokes into the stall doors than I can remember. And yes, I have been caught vaping in the school bathrooms before. What are you boys doing? Nothing. We're not doing anything.
Never mind. I know exactly what you guys are doing. Get your asses to class.
Thankfully, we got lucky that day and it was the cool band teacher who caught us, because he was doing some interesting stuff of his own on the side. And honestly, he really deserves a video of his own. So would I recommend the high school bathrooms? I mean, I don't know if I can give a recommendation because it's a fucking bathroom, not a restaurant. But honestly, they are a pretty fun place to just kill some time if you're bored in school. And for that, I think I'll have to rate them 3.5 watermelons out of 5. So yeah, that's the video. Need more videos to watch? Here's a playlist of all the videos I've ever made on this channel. When I was growing up, we had to live next to some pretty interesting neighbors. One of them would throw his used cigarette butts in our yard. Another one would literally watch us from their window if we had an event and we didn't invite them. But the one that really takes the cake was my neighbor Eric. So here's a story about the time I lived next to a plug. It's 2009 and a new family moves in next door. They had 2 kids who were about the same age as my sister and I, so we hung out a lot. But something that I noticed is that their dad was just a little bit weird. Not like creepy weird, but I noticed sometimes he would do things that were strange and honestly a little bit stupid. His eyes were always red, he'd listen to strange music, he'd stare at the fish tank for like half an hour. Eric was, as I would later find out, a stoner. And yes, this is the same Eric from the fireworks video. But he was cool enough, certainly cooler than the other neighbors. He let us get away with more things than we probably should have. But one of the rules that he did have was that we were never allowed to go in the basement. And I wasn't really much of a rule breaker as a kid, so I just kind of followed that. But one day we were playing inside with a kickball, and yes, I understand how stupid that sounds, but the door to the basement was for once open, and when I kicked the ball, it ended up rolling down the stairs to the basement. So I go down to the basement to go get the ball, and when I get down there, I notice all of these tables with these plants growing on them, and they had water and lights and everything, and I just stood there for a minute like, what the hell am I looking at? And then it finally clicked. Oh, they're gardening indoors. And I know that looking back, that's like the stupidest conclusion I could have come to, but remember, I was 7, I didn't know any better, and that was the only answer that made sense. And I just kept thinking that for like another 6 years. I'd see people come over and then leave with backpacks that were full, didn't think anything of it. One of their kids asked me one time if I'd seen it, and I was just like, yeah, it's a garden in the basement. So because Eric was routinely getting high on his own supply, he did some things that were pretty stupid. Like one time Eric was fixing up their kitchen, and he decided that he wanted to put in granite countertops. Now a normal person would probably measure before they got the granite for their kitchen, but not Eric. He just went down to Home Depot and found a fucking massive piece of granite and said, yeah, that looks like it'll probably fit. Shocker, it didn't fit. This thing was so unbalanced that if you leaned on it, it would start teetering like a fucking seesaw. But did Eric go back and get a properly sized piece? Nope. Who needs that when you've got 2 perfectly good deck posts laying around? There you go, problem solved. Now you can eat your breakfast every morning without getting crushed, and as a bonus, you can even get some splinters in your leg. What more could you want in your kitchen? So a few years go by, and one day I'm talking with my parents, and by this point we didn't live next to Eric anymore, and we were talking about some of our old neighbors from that neighborhood. And my mom tells me, you know Eric was a huge stoner, right? Really? He was? Yeah, his favorite band was Fish, and half of what he ate was chicken nuggets. Of course he was a stoner. And that was what got me to finally put the pieces together. I thought it was super funny that Eric was a plug, as well as the fact that I was 7 years old and stumbled upon a grow operation, and I was just like, yeah, this is normal. This is supposed to be here. So that's the story about the time I lived next to a plug. Let me know down in the comments if you want to hear more stories about Eric, and remember, never ever get high on your own supply. Need more videos to watch? Here's a playlist of all the videos I've ever made on this channel. Blacking out, passing out in someone's bushes, trying not to throw up in your friend's car. These are all things that can happen if you go a little bit too far and get a little bit too drunk. So today I'm going to tell you a story about the time I went a little too far and got way too drunk. This story takes place during my 3rd year of college. My friends and I were planning on having the perfect Saturday. At 11 a.m. we were playing our rival school in a rugby match, and one of my best friends, Grayson, was playing on the visiting team. Then in the afternoon, our football team was playing the same rival school in the biggest game of the year. And then to top the day off, we were going to throw a post-game party at my friend Dana's dorm. To put it simply, it was going to be a fantastic day. So on Saturday morning, like any college student, I wake up at a bright and early 10:50. Shit, I'm about to miss the rugby game. So without even eating breakfast, I throw on some fresh clothes and run to the rugby field. And we had a great time watching the rugby game. Grayson's team got the win, and afterwards we met up with him to go get some food. Now since I didn't have time to eat breakfast that day, I was starving, and my fat ass decided it would be a good idea to get an extra large pizza and eat the whole thing in one sitting. And this was where I made my first critical error. You see, when you have a really full stomach, your body doesn't absorb alcohol very quickly. This means that when you're drinking, you have to be a lot more more patient and wait for the alcohol to soak in. But shit, the football game's about to start. I don't have time to be patient. So 3 shots down the hatch it is, and then we're off to the game. And we're having a really fun time watching the football game, but the whole time I'm noticing that I'm not nearly as drunk as I should be. Well, maybe I just didn't drink enough. I'll fix that problem after the game. So we finish watching the game, and this time it's the home team that gets the W. And that means it's time for the best part of the day, the after party. So we go back to Dana's dorm and start drinking. And in my head, I thought that since 3 shots wasn't nearly enough before, I'll just take a bunch more. So I'm taking shots with everybody, and I'm not even waiting for them to kick in either. And this was where I made my second critical error. You have to wait and give the alcohol some time to do its thing. So about an hour and a half of this goes by, and I am really starting to feel it. And it's at this time that I start to think, wait, how much have I actually had to drink? Hey Dana, how much have I drank? You're not keeping track of it? No. Dude, that mixed drink in your hand has 3 shots alone, and you're on your second one. And that right there was my third and final critical error. Always keep track of how much you've had. So it's at this point that I stop having any more, but by now it's a little bit too late. I'm sitting on the couch and I can feel myself getting dizzy and sweaty, and my stomach starts to feel really... Damn! And my stomach starts to feel really sick. And at this point, Dana realizes that I'm not doing well and says, yeah, we should probably get you home. And she calls my friend Renee to come pick me up. And the whole time I'm waiting for Renee to arrive, I'm just sitting on the couch trying not to throw up. And even after she got there, Jake, Renee's here to pick you up. Just give me a minute. I need a minute or I'm gonna throw up in her car. Just give me a second. So once I get a little bit of composure back, I walk outside and get in the car. And even though the ride was only a few minutes, that was the longest car ride of my life. Having the spins and trying not to throw up in your friend's car sucks ass, bro. So Renee drops me back off at my place, and I go lay down on my couch so my roommates can keep an eye on me. And as I'm laying there, I suddenly get this panicked thought that I'm still at Dana's dorm and Renee is waiting for me. Shit, Renee's outside waiting for me. I gotta get out. Wait a second, I'm at my dorm. She literally just drove me home. How the fuck did I just space out an entire car ride? So I laid back down, and after a long time dealing with the spins, I finally managed to get some rest. Until the next morning, of course, when I got my shit rocked by the worst headache I think I have ever had. So the moral of this story, if you're gonna drink, drink responsibly. And don't be a dumbass and eat an entire extra large pizza beforehand like I did. Need more videos to watch? Here's a playlist of all the videos I've ever made on this channel.